regular board meeting, March 19th, 2018.
We got enough room? Do we need me to, you want me to slide a little bit here? Because we got plenty of room at this table. Okay, a little bit if we need to. That's my superintendent.
Okay, I just didn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nope.
Somebody's got to keep you. Yeah, it's not working.
I wasn't watching. Well, I was. I should be watching for that. I should be watching for that.
That's the number.
So I said,
It's gotta happen.
You're all right, Miss Mary. He goes, oh, see you later. I didn't think they'd all would have came up. Right, right, it happens. Oh, and that's good.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so I want you.
May 1st. May 1st. Yeah. And then what? He's out in the real world.
Good.
You know what? He even did it.
I don't think that board needs to respond.
Do you? Yeah.
No, if they do ask a question or if they're
Yeah.
to begin with.
She's not okay. I'll take some yoga.
Because it would be, almost look as if you've got our minds made up. We do have some.
I let her know that I didn't buy them.
Yeah.
Good, good. Yep, good, good. Well, and that also shows that we were responsive. Yep. Yes, I am.
Just was on the agenda, I just want to make sure we're on.
Yep, that's in my superintendent notes. Yep. Well, you can ask questions of her, and you can also direct the board to do, direct the superintendent and the assistant superintendent to do some research on cost analysis, transportation routing, things of that nature, so that you can get a copy.
That makes
But
sense.
I wouldn't be answering.
Oh, no. Can't do that. Good evening, everyone. If you would please join us for the pledge.
I don't know why you said that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. To start us off this evening, we'll have a budget presentation.
So I'm going to ask Audrey to do the majority of the budget presentation. This is going to be a brief budget presentation because, as you will recall, members of the board, at our last budget workshop a week ago, we really explained to you that we had our spending plan in place and that we were essentially waiting for the legislature to make final decisions about revenue and final adjustments, we hope that they will add to the governor's original proposal. So, Audrey, I know that you put something in everybody's blue folder, and you may want to just walk us through some of the key facts.
All right, in your folder is our draft 7 of the budget that we updated today. A couple changes that we did make on the working budget form, which is on the top of your packet. We updated to the tax levy that the board has somewhat agreed upon, depending on the state of the budget, the state budget and what the funds come in, of 3.2, which is below the tax levy limit of 3.24. It's about an $11,000 difference from the cap. The other 2 changes that came in, we did get the final services agreement from BOCES. So a lot of pluses and minuses as we went through the services that we did purchase from BOCES. And there was a reduction of just over $4,100. The other change we did make, we reduced the contractual cost of audit services by $1,550. So we currently are at a gap between our revenues and our anticipated spending plan of $247,000. And that's the only changes that we have made. If you have any questions, I'll put a draft of the popular budget document is in your packet also. That is a draft, so please review it. If you see anything that you need additional information on or changes that you have for suggestions, just contact me. Thanks.
So I'm going to just make sure that you highlight and maybe scribble a little bit on the sheet that Audrey put in front of you. In the top box, at the very beginning where it talks about the budget, what you see is the actual spending plan, and you see 2018-19 working budget, $56.6 million. That's a 2.12% decrease in budget to budget, mostly surrounding our debt service. So those are 2 very critical numbers. Next set of critical numbers is what I'll go to the revenue right now is our purple box. You can see in the purple box we are anticipating from New York State in state funds about $25.1 million. That's a decrease in state aid of 8.7%. That's a significant decrease in state aid. And again, a lot of that has to do around building aid. And we understand that. But it really has been a very significant decrease for us. Those are 2 critical pieces of information. Let's jump down to the box which is draft budget 3, which has, maybe it's the biggest box. You'll see that we have health insurance adjustment in there. You'll see that we have the retirement system adjustment in there. So those 2 significant cost factors are already built into this budget. And then, most importantly, our budget priorities. You scan that list, you'll see the budget adds, and we've been constantly talking about a budget plan that not only maintains the good work that we've done, but makes the right additions so that we can continue to grow in the quality programs and instruction that we provide our students. Budget priorities included in this existing budget right now are our administrative plan at the high school, middle school nurse, our special ed program in 812 at the middle school, the school support services at the middle school. You'll also see that we have made necessary reductions, whether it be in special ed, assistive technology, and support staff. This budget reflects the additions as well as reductions necessary to keep it a responsive budget. And of course, the good things from much of the work that we've done in the past, whether it be the literacy coaches or our K-5 enrollments, are also maintained. Christine, are there any other highlights that I should have?
I think you got it all.
Okay. And then the last thing I will mention to the board, in fact, Audrey and I were just talking about this, is that the one-house budget bills are in. They are one-house budget bills. As we all know, the trick is to have the Assembly talking to the Senate rather than two separate bills. But the good news is both of the one-house budget bills have added money to foundation aid. So whatever they come up with, it will be an addition. Both one-house bills have rejected the governor's proposal to cap expense-based aids. That's a plus. And both one-house bills have increased aidable funding for salaries to CTE and to BOCES. So we know there's some good things that are for sure as we look at these one-house bills, as we await that final revenue picture for an on-time budget in April.
Does your crystal ball tell you we're going to have an on-time budget?
Hard to say. Hard to say.
Tough question to even ask.
Yeah, it is.
That'd be nice.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All set, Audrey?
Any board member have any comments? Thank you, Audrey and John. If not, we will go into our student representatives presentation. Marlies?
Hi, everybody. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day. I have some exciting updates to share with everyone. At the elementary schools, collectively, from the Southline Marathon Dance, the elementary school buildings raised $32,248.08. Parents as Reading Partners is underway. Battle of the Books is happening in grades 3 through 5, and it was at Skidmore on March 12th. In addition, it's also time for kindergarten registration and screening. The south site is at Ballard on March 19th and 20th, and the north site is at Tanglewood on March 21st and 22nd. At Ballard, the second annual Ballard University, their after-school enrichment program is up and running with 232 students enrolled in one or more courses. Opera Saratoga will visit Ballard on March 15th with a whimsical retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's beloved fairy tale, The Ugly Duckling. Ballard will host a second Saturday engineering program, Engineering in the Wizarding World, on Saturday, March 24th. Registration is open, and we look forward to a great day thanks to the EYE team and the group of volunteers consisting from the Ballard staff, family members, and SGFP Club. Darren Sardelli will be an author in residence from March 26th through 28th. At Harrison, it's all about PARP at Harrison Ave Elementary School. March 1st is the official kickoff date for the PARP program. This year's theme is Pause for Books. Come, stay, read a great tale. Elementary students are reading to help animals in our community. For each student that participates, 25 cents will be donated to a local animal shelter. The month of March is jam-packed with all kinds of activities, such as Drop Everything and Read, Battle of the Books, Read Me Day, and a book tasting, where students have the opportunity to sample a variety of genres. Also, Harrison Ave Student Council is coordinating a pet food and supply drive this month to connect with Parks theme. On March 19, 2018, Harrison Ave's Homeschool Association hosted Grandparents Gathering. Grandparents of kindergarten and first graders were welcome to attend from 5:30 to 6 p.m. Then, grandparents of second through fifth graders were welcome from 6:15 to 6:45 p.m. Crafts and refreshments were available, along with the opportunity to visit their Scholastic Book Fair. Finally, Harrison Ave's HSA is coordinating a fundraiser with the Adirondack Thunder. Tickets are $15 per person for the last Saturday home game of the season, which is March 31st at 7 p.m. Our Homeschool Association will collect a portion of the ticket sales as well as the proceeds from the 50-50 raffle. At Moreau Elementary, Sylvia Fletcher, ventriloquist, will visit Moreau to perform Get Lost in a Book to go with their PARP festivities. Their theme this year is Celebrate Our Differences. On March 16th, they had a library night where families participated in different activities related to the theme. Our first grade is hosting a potluck dinner for students and families on March 28th to align with their unit on healthy eating. Their drama club will begin rehearsing for this month in preparation for their spring production. The fourth grade students are working with the Don't Wait project, Unmake a Bully, in which they are creating PSAs on anti-bullying. The fifth grade students are wrapping up Too Good for Drugs through the Prevention Council. At Tanglewood, they had hundreds of people attend their annual ice cream social and basket raffle on March 14th. Everyone had a great time. In addition, Tanglewood is full on into PARP this month. This year, they have a magical theme that includes an enchanted forest. They have a strong student participation so far and are looking forward to 2 more weeks of literacy and magic. In conjunction with Park, their drama club will be performing the play Wicked Is As Wicked Does on March 28th at 6:30 p.m. In the middle school, they would like to extend a bravo to their drama club, who brought down the house with another wonderful performance this year. The production was The Crimson House Murders, and it ran for full houses both Friday and Saturday nights, March 9th and March 10th. Congratulations to Mrs. Ramsey, Mrs. Gardunia, and all the students for a great show. The middle school has once again partnered with Dr. David Karp and his Restorative Circle class at Skidmore College to offer a community and culture building circle to 15 8th graders for 6 weeks after school for an hour on Wednesdays. Their participants were chosen for their positive attitudes and leadership qualities, and they will be discussing how to work together to create a positive climate at their school. A group of 45 7th and 8th graders and 5 adult chaperones will be traveling to Montreal for an overnight on March 23rd and 24th. The International Club, moderated by Mrs. French, was very excited to be able to offer this trip again this year. Their No Place for Hate student committee has been going strong and the ideas are flowing. Their next activity will be at the end of March. Students will watch a student-produced video explaining how our I Am Wall project works. After discussing in their classes how bias affects all of their lives, all students will have an opportunity to contribute to their I Am Wall that will be constructed in the main hallway, so everyone will see the unique and individual character of the Oliver Witch students. Their HSA is also sponsoring a family fun event night with the Adirondack Thunder on Saturday, March 31st at 7 p.m. They're offering great discount tickets and snacks at the game, and they hope to see a great turnout from their middle school families. And last but not least, at the high school, since the last Board of Education meeting, South High has been afire with all things marathon dance. Spirit Week brought neon, tie-dye, heartfelt causes, tacky tourists, and eventually, after a snow day, a sea of red and blue apparel to get everyone excited for what turned out to be yet another successful and rewarding marathon dance. On March 5th, the high school staff engaged in professional development on continuing to look at grading philosophies and practices by reflecting on the information and ideas presented by Rick Warmelli on February 16th. Staff also trained to lead discussion circles on inclusion and community building. Faculty spent time getting updated on all facets of the construction project, while aides and monitors spent time with Mrs. Patty Kilgore from the Prevention Council, expanding their knowledge of vapor devices. If the snow ever cooperates, South High will also partner with Dr. David Karp and his Restorative Circle class at Skidmore College to train students in running community and culture building circles. They have 28 interested students who will look to train themselves to help facilitate a proposed Day of Dialogue event in late April to look at and foster stronger school culture. Open library nights also continue at the high school on Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And on March 12th, the South High Incident Command Team trained with Carol Bolshevisky and New York State Trooper Kyle Hutter, refining their response to potentially threatening and disruptive incidents. On the evening of March 21st and during the day of March 23rd, Speaker Chris Ballum will be presenting on social media fitness to parents and students. Also on March 23rd, the high school guidance department will welcome a panel of local college admissions counselors to refine their approach to align with what college admissions is looking for in 2019 candidates. Finally, on March 29th, the high school is sending nearly 6 dozen students, along with teachers and 2 administrators, to spend time touring and learning in both London, England, and Paris, France. According to Mr. Modi, principal for the day, Mr. Nick McPartland, would be happy to get visits from any members of the Board of Education if they are free.
Thank you, Bernice. That's quite a report and a lengthy report. Does any board member have any comment?
Yeah, can I hear that again?
Could you do that again? Thank you, Bernice. We now move into our first public forum, and we have some folks. Thank you. And Sheila Morris. Hi, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. I'm speaking in regards to the transportation policy of our district. My name is Sheila Morris. I currently have a son in first grade at Moreau Elementary and an almost 1-year-old daughter who will be a bulldog soon enough. I'm here to ask you tonight to amend the current transportation policy in order to allow students in grades K through 5 to be bused past their boundary for the Moreau district or their home district to any New York State certified daycare provider within the district, with the stipulation that it has to be within a determined distance from the established bus route. We purchased our house on Terry Drive in Moreau District in 2008. I was told by my colleagues that South Glens Falls District was the best in the area, and I agree. I'm a nationally board certified literacy specialist who currently teaches reading at Fort Anne Central School. So education is obviously a top priority in our household. My son loves Moreau. He loves the teachers, the librarian, the art teacher, the office ladies, the cafeteria workers, and especially Mr. Schaefer, the custodian. So it was devastating news to hear that his new daycare provider was just outside of the Moreau boundary, 500 feet approximately. She lives on Flushing Avenue, so she is in the Tanglewood boundary. We would have to provide transportation ourselves, which was not really an option because I work in Fort Anne, have to be there by 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock. My husband works in Mechanicville for the county of Saratoga, so it wasn't really an option to do that. Up to about January, our daycare provider was providing transportation. Since then, she's not able to because she's got new children. She's got a set of twins now. So he could either ride in the front seat of her car, which I'm not comfortable with at 6 years old, to Moreau, or I had to find alternate daycare. So my neighbor's now putting him on and off the bus, where we are now. She was one of only 2 providers in our area that had openings for a newborn and a school-aged child. So the other daycare provider would have charged full price regardless of whether I sent the child or not during the summer, almost $2,000. As a teacher, we don't make money in the summertime, so that was just out of our budget. With the current policy, my son cannot be bused to or from her bus stop, which is at the corner of Flushing and Bluebird, even though a pre-K student gets dropped off there in the afternoon. My sitter often, or used to follow bus 238 right to Moreau from her stop on the mornings when she would take my son to school. The current policy will not allow students in K through 5 to be bused over the elementary boundary lines, but pre-K, middle school, and high school students may be bused anywhere within the district. I understand that policies need to be in place for districts to run sufficiently. I was corresponding with Ms. Orr, and since December we met, talked about this. She said she shared some information with you all already. She helped me understand policies, even offered some suggestions of Fisherman's Net, Moreau Community Center, Top Spot, which are all very reputable places. However, my son's 6. I don't want him in a structured setting from 7 o'clock in the morning until 3:30. We chose to have a family daycare provider for that reason. This brought up a few questions because she explained to me that students can be bused to those places from all elementary schools, so that is across school boundaries. That made me question, why can these students in pre-K, middle school, and high school ride any bus anywhere in the district? However, a child who is in grades K through 5 stay within their school boundary. Aren't these primarily the students that need the before and after school care? Why can students be bused from one other boundary to another for daycare center programs, but not family daycare? And finally, what are other districts doing for transportation in districts that have similar makeups with separate elementary schools? So I don't like going to meetings and not having a solution for a problem. It's part of what I do, so I brought with me some language from a few different school districts. For example, Bethlehem Central School states, grades K through 5 students can be transported to any licensed daycare outside of their home boundary. Shenandoah policy states the child care provider and the New York State licensed daycare must be within the Shenandoah school district. Grades K-5 can only be transported to a licensed daycare provider. Children who are provided with non-licensed daycare can only be within the boundary, so that's their stipulation. And finally, East Greenbush states the district accepts special transportation requests to daycare sites within the child's school attendance zone only, or to a New York State licensed daycare provider anywhere within the district. Some language I thought might be helpful if you do decide to amend the policy was Ms. Kiuna's policy first defined which daycare providers could be transported to. They had to be listed prior to approval of any transportation. North Colony said a child care transportation would only be approved if it could be accomplished within the existing bus route structure. Language like this would help eliminate any kind of extreme situation for busing to a certified daycare location, say from like Ballard to Harrison. So I wanted to thank you for your time tonight and consideration in this matter. I hope to hear from you soon regarding your decision, and I'd be glad to work with you in regards to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. We will, as you might expect, defer that to our administrators to review. Several things are involved, as I'm sure you've talked with Ms. Orr about that, is our existing routes, what we've tried to do over the years in terms of cut down on our routes, is trying to stay within the 75-minute, if not 60-minute, busing of our students. And as we just talked about before, budget-wise, what would be the impact for not only you, but if all of a sudden we have to open this up to many, many other families. So all these types of things, just off the head, my top of my head, we're going to have to consider and think of. But thank you very much for the information from those other school districts, and very well presented. Thank you. So I'll pass that, hand that off to you, Jim.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. We're now going to move into the agenda of the evening. We have consent items A and B, which is the agenda and minutes from our prior 3 meetings. Is there any comments or questions? I feel like I'm in the vanguard out here. There being none, I have a motion. Motion from Christine, second from Kevin. All in favor? And that's been approved. They've been approved unanimously. Under school business management, we have consent items C through M. Are there any comments or questions? There being none, may I have a motion? Motion from Lisa, second from Christine. All in favor? Aye. And they've been approved unanimously.
And I'm going to just take a quick check here, because I do see Bill McMorty here. Bill, is there any follow-up information regarding any of the pieces in regard to change orders, bid withdrawal, and bid approval?
No, everything is ready.
Okay, thank you.
Moving along, under instructional personnel, we have consent items N through Q. Are there any comments or questions? There being none, may I have a motion? Motion from Kevin, second from Jeff. All in favor? Aye. And that's been approved unanimously. Under non-instructional personnel, consent items R through V. You going to recognize retirements, are you?
We do have some non-instructional retirements, yes. So yes,
Okay, go ahead. I'll
Thank
let
you.
do that. Sure.
I do want to just quickly mention our retirement resignations. And I know, though being only a short-time person in the district, how much Deborah Kearney, the library aide at the middle school, and Karen French, the building secretary at Tanglewood, means to those buildings and to the work that gets done. Karen French, my understanding, is the heart and soul, and it's going to be a very different building when we open, but it'll be a fun challenge as someone steps in and becomes the next heart and soul. So congratulations to Karen and to Deborah.
Thank you, Jen. Is there any further comments or questions? May I have a motion? Motion from John, second from Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
And they've been approved as unanimously. We did receive our special education reports, recommendations on CPSE and CSE, which is consent item W. Always very interesting, Kathy. If you're here, I don't know if I saw you earlier tonight.
She is.
She's hiding back.
Oh, she's hiding, okay. Are there any comments or questions? There being none, may I have a motion? Motion from Nelson, second from John. All in favor?
Aye.
And they've been approved unanimously. Under educational items, we have consent items X through Y. Any comments or questions?
We can start? I'm sorry. Yeah,
I was
no,
just gonna say,
Christine,
just to
you.
clarify, we're talking about the one that's in our folder, the updated
Mhm.
version of that policy, right? That Lisa
That is correct.
weighed in on?
So thank you. Yes, Lisa's corrections got made, and they're the ones in the folder, and that's for,
Thank you.
policy 8417. Rapid recall team, congratulations. Mary Lisa, are you a?
Are you a rapid
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so congratulations. It's New Orleans for a national championship. We're sending the whole team and 2 advisors, and they will learn a lot and represent us well.
Pretty good.
Proposed policies. Christine already provided the clarification about 8417. Lisa Hogan had some wording changes so that we could update those, that specifically. Proposed policy 9700, staff development, much of the wording as required by SED. Student liaison to the board, 2245. We have done just a little bit of our own cleanup regarding selection and the terms for each of the members.
Is there any further comment or questions? Best wishes, Marlies.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
As you head down there.
Yeah.
Congratulations. There being no further comment, may I have a motion? Motion from, was it Jeff? Second? From Kevin? All in favor?
Aye.
That's been approved. This is kind of like a yo-yo here. From my corner of the world, some information items to dovetail on Marlise's report on the marathon dance. We want to recognize the great work that faculty, students, administrators, the coordinators, and particularly the students, they raised $831,139.15. And it's always I always like to watch the group dances. It's fantastic. Update regarding our superintendent search. Beginning this week, tomorrow night, the board will be interviewing 2 candidates, and again on Wednesday night, 2 additional candidates. We will be interviewing 4 in all. And based on our review and recommendations, candidates will then be submitted for reviews with the advisory committees. So we're moving along. The timeline is slowly drawing near. There's an Adirondack School Board meeting this Thursday night where Controller DiNapoli is going to be sharing his knowledge with the group. And from a personal note, I would like to thank Mr. Conrick and his staff in particular from last Friday evening. The rapid response care, overall support. My wife was there to pick up our granddaughter and hit the floor, went blacked out. And I wouldn't have thought anything different, but it was just fantastic just to see how everybody rose to the occasion. And more importantly, my granddaughter never saw what happened, which made me even happier. And it was, I don't know all the teachers and everyone that was involved. Mr. Conrick was going to speak to them on our behalf, my wife and I's behalf. But we thank you ever so much, and I just want to recognize that school. And it's not unlike any of our other buildings would do, but having been there firsthand to see that type of reaction and the support was just very well and much appreciated. So I thank you, Mr. Conrick. Oh, you are here. I'm sorry. And now I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Hunter.
Very good. Prior to the board meeting, at about 5:45 to 6:25, we had the district school safety committee meet. We talked about a number of issues at the school safety meeting. We started off by reviewing our goal, and that is a positive, safe environment for learning for each student. And that means that we need to build systems that support all of our students. We talked about a holistic concept around school safety, and we identified some of the key elements of school safety, including working with our own students, understanding our building's strengths and weaknesses, the policies that we need to practice, the drills that we need to reinforce, and the culture and the violence prevention that we need to imbue in our students and practice in the way we treat others. We then had a very concerted, long conversation and thoughtful conversation led by some of the pre-work done by our principals regarding what are some of the key assets of school safety and what are our concerns and our questions. And you can see from the slide behind me that following our conversation, we identified 5 specific action items that we're going to be talking about and thinking about between now and May, when our next district safety committee meeting adjourns. We'll be looking at any type of budget decisions that we might make for 2018-19 regarding support services and or equipment. We'll be looking at practice drills, and we use an announced drill in order to minimize student anxiety and to make sure the students understand the importance of the work, but yet our goal is to put students and faculty in unpredictable situations. More tabletop drills with first responders to support us in understanding the work that we're doing, making sure that our policy has common expectations across all buildings, and individual classroom and school-wide audits regarding what repairs we need specifically to address for safety needs. In a half an hour, 35 minutes, we accomplished a great deal, and we've got a nice agenda for the next 2 to 3 months. Following on school safety, congratulations to South Glens Falls, to Oliver W. Wench Middle School, and to Mr. Tim Dawkins for being recognized as a 2018 CASDA Principal of the Year. It is an honor for Mr. Dawkins and an honor for us. Congratulations. Since my last report in February, the weighted grade committee at the high school has had 2 meetings. In addition to the 2 meetings, the faculty used, as Marlies reported, the faculty used some time on March 5th, Superintendent's Conference Day, to discuss grading practices as well as some of the principles of effective grading from the Rick Warmelli workshops. The key issues that the weighted grade committee has reported to me include the following. 1, they want to get this right. It's not about making a simple and or isolated decision. Grades are part of the work that tie into the teaching and learning process, and they are one critical piece, but one piece of an entire grading system. 2, they've underscored that grading needs to be embedded as part of the teaching and learning process. That when we think about grading, we think about key instructional practices like feedback, mastery, standards, and high-quality assessments and evaluation. 3rd key issue that they talked about is that the grading work needs to be a simple, understandable communication system, a communication system that speaks to students, equally speaks to parents, speaks to college, and speaks to employers. And it must do so in a way that's equitable, accurate, and consistent. The group also talked about the idea that a grading system can't be just a hodgepodge of departmental beliefs and individual commitments and backgrounds, whether they be reflective of individuals who practice makeup or practice mastery, who believe in effort or believe on time. They need to be a comprehensive system. And finally, the committee has asked that we as a board and as an administration recognize that a timeline for any type of a June decision is going to be very difficult for them as they look at this big picture. The timeline certainly drives their work, but is arbitrary in that it forces them to make a decision in a way that they do not believe will give them the opportunity to answer the key questions and key issues that they've outlined. So at this point, I'm just want to make sure that the board is aware that there is the likelihood that you will not have a decision in June. I will continue to update you regarding the work towards those decisions, but a final decision is not necessarily something that you will be hearing. And then finally, before I wrap up on my work, I want to give the board two pieces of information regarding consult with our legal counsel regarding Article 7, the status of two Article 7 questions. The first one is the Target Corporation versus the town of Wilton. Board members, you can expect that our counsel will be sitting in as part of a trial
Bless you.
that will take place on April 23rd. Counsel believes that there's little likelihood of a settlement in this case. Therefore, we will be attending. We will be involved in any of the sharing of information and any of the settlement conferences. In addition, I want you to be aware that progress is slowly starting to move in the setup of the question regarding the appraisals for the Home of Good Shepherd versus Moreau. They are on a 45-day delay at this point in order to complete appraisals. The judge has indicated that he will give no further delays, so we can expect a court date, though we don't know right now what that will be, but we can expect a court date following those 45 days. We may, between now and our April meeting, we may be considering whether, in fact, we will be sharing the appraisal costs with the village and with the town of Moreau. And that is it for my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hunter. Nothing on hydro at all.
Nothing on hydro, no update.
Bill, can I ask one?
Oh, absolutely.
question? I realized you gave the update for the superintendent search, and you mentioned the advisory committees that are going to be working. Would you mind, just because we may have some people here that don't know the makeup of those committees, could you just go over who's on those committees and how many of them there are?
Is this a test?
It's a pop quiz.
Go for it.
Well, we're going to have 3 committees, be made up of administrators, faculty, non-instructional, 2 community members for each committee, and 2 parents.
2 students.
And 2 students. Thank you. I forgot the students. I knew I'd forget something. And those community members and parents that were selected were based on a random drawing. Names were put into a hat and pulled out in that regard based on those folks that volunteered. The administrative team, the faculty association, non-instructional, they selected their members that would be attending these advisory committee meetings.
Thank you.
Except for the students, I apologize, Marlene. I forgot one of our core people. So that's what
Thank
that
you.
is. You're
I
welcome.
just thought some of the people
Oh, yeah.
that are gathered may want to know where some of the community input
Excellent
comes
point,
in.
Christine, and I thank you. This is our second public forum. I guess we didn't have anything. No. So I'll move into our next agenda item, which is an overall board discussion. Do you want to bring up that? Or do you want me to do it?
This is actually to my fellow board members. I'm coming up on my 6th year on the board, and every so often the conversation comes up how in my particular year there's only 2 of us up for election. We have another year that's 4 people up for election, and we have another with 3. I don't know the exact nature of why that happened. It was explained to me that somebody resigned, left, moved out, whatever happened, they ended up having an election the following year. Whatever the case may be, we have this disparity of 2, 3, and 4. And during a conversation with Dr. Hunter and Bill, I've been just pondering how we could fix that. And of course, I think that would have to be a cooperative effort from my fellow board members. And my suggestion was to consider this for next year. And I asked Dr. Hunter to find out what the timeline would have to be, what kind of legal steps would have to be if we wanted to do this. What I'm suggesting is for next year, when the 4 board members are up for re-election, that we consider the 4th person with the least number of votes be up for only a 2-year term, and then that position would then be aligned with the year that we have a 2-year term, then go back to 3 years. I didn't want to put anybody on the spot, but I just thought it was important to consider if we ever want to try and realign back to 3, 3, and 3, just for consistency's sake. And I welcome any thoughts on that. And you don't have to do it tonight. We could have it at a different meeting. I just wanted to put it out there for consideration. I'd also like to say for the record, I think we have a great board here. I would endorse anybody's reelection. Everyone brings a certain something to the table. That doesn't mean that there's not somebody in the community that might have something special to bring too. I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from running. But that was just my 2 cents on that subject. I don't know if anyone else had given it any thought. It means it wouldn't affect me. It would affect my
Those
4 fellow board members currently.
One possibility I've seen done in situations like this, and now I haven't seen it in this exact situation, it's only been when somebody has had to step down,
Yeah.
is that they've had one position that's run specifically for a 2-year term. So that's another way of handling it. If there was a board member, and it could happen this next one or it could happen later, I'm just thinking out loud, where you could designate this is a 2-year term position and these are 3-year term positions.
Just a little background, when I first got on the board a few years ago, and Dr. Patton was here, we did try to look into how can we readjust, if you will. It was interesting. New York State School Boards Association had no clue, and our lawyers didn't come up with anything. They never ventured in that at all. So John brought this conversation up here a couple times, and if we choose to try to get more of a balanced year, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, this may be a way to go about it. But like John says, we're not looking for any decisions tonight. Just need the people to ponder it and think about it.
So whichever direction the board chooses to go, and as Bill said, this could be a conversation for a board workshop over the summer, as you think about long-term planning, and as you think about your continuity and the importance of continuity. Whether you look at the lowest vote getter, whether you look at the way Christine talked about designating a position, it would require a public vote. We would need to go to the community and ask them to vote on allowing us to change one of the 3-year terms to a 2-year term. And then we would need to designate that 2-year term would then expire at the end of that time, and that the next election would be moving towards a 3-year term. So it requires a proposition that the voters would need to understand and endorse.
They'd have to almost do that this year, really.
Yeah.
To affect next
A
year,
year
yeah.
ahead of time.
That would be the easiest way to get it done, correct?
Right.
To do it in May.
Proposition this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Give it some thought. We got time.
Mm-hmm.
We got a few weeks yet.
You know, I don't recall the proposition from 5 to 3.
I have a
Neither
copy,
do I. but-
I
Well-
just don't recall.
I
So-
voted on it. I remember.
and I have a copy of the proposition.
Okay.
So that's
You were
why
out of town that
I
I
know
must have
we
been
need.
in Europe or something.
Yeah, we
Could have been.
I could have been.
We pushed for that.
Yeah, and actually, John, that's how we ended up with
That's how we
the
ended up with the,
4-3-2 because of the swing from 5 years to 3 years.
Is that how
Exactly,
it
Jeff. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know how.
I didn't either, but
Yeah, 'cause certain people
timed out at a
timed
different.
out at a different time.
yeah.
So if we did the proposition to switch one of them to two, then what? We'd have to do another proposition to switch it back?
No, the proposition
It would have
would
to
say
be read
both.
out for this one time.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
One-time election, and everything returns to 3-year terms.
Exactly, Jeff.
It's worth a shot.
You want to hear from all three of us, Josh?
I mean, John and
I'll be
I,
honest, Nelson, it was a conversation we had in preparing this agenda. I just brought it up, when do we talk about it? And then I was just reminded by Bill this moment, because I hadn't even had it on my mind.
It seems like an easy fix, but you have to do, can't wait till summer, like to start.
Well, that's true.
If we
can't
were
do
going
it.
to do it, and if everyone is in agreement,
Yep.
we could do a proposition to do that.
Yes,
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
I don't even know whose turn they're all
It's nothing personal, I just thought
Right.
it makes sense to have 3, 3, and 3, that's all.
Audrey, when do we have to go to the newspapers with our propositions?
We would have to follow the same law that we follow for the vote. So
Yep.
I believe the first ad has to run in the first 10 days in April, as soon as we approve the budget.
That's a very short time.
that's okay. You got a window, you only need 1 day.
Well,
I believe it has to run 3 times.
correct. I'll keep doing the legal side of it
Yeah,
to make sure I have the pieces, and in the Friday report, I'll share with you what the timeline would be. As Jeff has said, the proposition would be this year
yes.
with the change in term
For next year.
for next year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John and John. Well, that concludes our board meeting. We do have to go into executive session for personnel item. Thank you all for being here, taking the time and joining us. May I have a motion to adjourn to executive session? Kevin moves. John seconded. All in favor? We're there.
And members of the community, when we return from executive session, there will be no action by the board. We will just adjourn.
Well, the truth is, Nelson,
We talked about it. I remember the 6 of us down front all answering questions. I got 6 So we had that conversation. Not opposed.
In advance, right? You can't be voting.